Hello everybody, Anfield here. Welcome to the mouse third mark session video. Yes, the mouse. I was recently playing the mouse, mostly for memes, and I 3-marked it, so here it is. I guess it's fine. I mean, I 3-marked the 100 3 times. I might as well do the mouse once, I suppose. It is, of course, the oldest tier 10 in the game alongside the IS-7. They were, at one point, the only two tier 10s in the game. So, yeah, throwback. Anyway, the mouse really, it was an interesting experience playing a lot of games in the mouse, and I learned a lot about the tank, specifically what it's very good at, what it's not so good at, but nothing that is like a revelation or anything. Ultimately, it's the mouse, and a lot of the drawbacks with the tank are there, and very, very difficult to mitigate. So ultimately, I will have a lot of talking time in some of these replays as I slowly roll towards my opponents like a tortoise of doom. And ultimately, that's going to be what a lot of this is. The mouse to 3-mark is difficult because to do a lot of damage in the mouse is very, very difficult. Not because the mouse isn't totally capable of doing the damage. It's more the fact that it's difficult when, especially when there's a team wipe, your enemy team buckles and you wipe them out too quickly. The mouse does not do well with those games, or cleanup damage is not something it excels at on like a medium or a fast or heavy. And the same can be said, I suppose, the other way around if your team is wiped out too quickly, although that's generally better for your damage, actually, but ultimately neither are good. You need slow-paced battles to really excel with the mouse, and unfortunately, recently in both EU and NA, I've noticed a lot more team wipes, and I'm not really entirely sure what the reason for that is. I feel like maybe some people are playing tanks that is a little easy to be far too aggressive with or something. I don't know. So you can see the mouse is actually pretty accurate when you turn it to get a shot off, because the mouse turret is so slow that you don't really have any bloom. You just have to deal with a generic, not great accuracy. So yeah, you'll see me take some of these shots. I should warn you, of course, trigger warning. If you get triggered by a lot of gold noob rounds, look away. Don't watch this video. Don't get angry. It's not going to do your health any good. I fire a lot of APCR on the mouse, and that's mostly because everyone's shooting gold at me, so why not? No, actually the real reason is because it has 246 AP penetration, which is barely better than the E100, and that's just not good enough for 11 seconds of reload and not a very accurate gun. This gun is good at tier 9, but at tier 10 it really, really lacks. And if I were to buff the mouse, it's difficult to buff its speed, but perhaps give it slightly better DPM. But regardless, it has a lot of reload to deal with, as well as just generally poor accuracy. And because of this, you really, really cannot afford to miss shells or not penetrate. Of course, it would be wonderful if you had guaranteed amount of pen, but because there's 25% RNG on your pen, you never know what it's going to roll. So it's not going to be 246, it could be under 200, which of course is not something you want with a mouse. Particularly because this tank needs to kill opponents before they have the opportunity to flank. If a high HP opponent gets around you, that is basically a nightmare, because puppies do not support you very well. And unfortunately, it can be quite difficult. Now you can see the move I made here was very aggressive. It was because I didn't see enough of an opportunity to sit and trade shots worth of damage, and I knew if I could get to this rock, I would be able to be already safe and do a lot of damage. One of the things the mouse does excel at is you can close gaps and close distances, even though you're super slow. If the opponent doesn't have very big guns and they have little guns, you can angle very well against them. The mouse armor does really stack up quite well, in fact. It's very... Sometimes it does, like, you're like, well, how on earth did that penetrate me? There are moments like that, and you will see that in some of these replays. But, there's enough of armor there that, you really can make it work. It is very good armor, but the issue, of course, being that, that's great, but, you're so slow, it can be quite difficult. So you have to try your best to keep people in front of you and do what you can. Now, one thing I did notice while playing the mouse, and I made this comparison, is that the mouse armor works because it's correctly angled in a way that if you move it, you don't open up a secondary weak point. And the most comparable tank to the mouse, other than say the E100, is the Type 5 Heavy. They're basically the same thing, one's Japanese, one's German. Now the problem with the Type 5 Heavy is if the Type 5 is angled, it opens up another flat side. Whereas the mouse is just direct. You can see there's no weird angle plates or whatever, shoulder guards like maybe the IS-4 has, specifically the Type 5 Heavy has. So when you angle something like the Type 5, you open up a flat angle, almost as bad as like the pike nose on an IS-7 or something like that. The mouse, however, you angle it and you don't present a newly weak side or angles for someone to shoot at. So you can see we're basically rolled over them in this area. Now I did have another El Haluf game. I was on the other side, and unfortunately for me, my team wasn't very good. This is a bad shot, by the way. It's so horrific, so horrific. I was trying to snap it because of the Conqueror. I didn't want him to steal it, but anyway, back to that game. And we just got overwhelmed too quickly. And unfortunately, you know, 3,000 hit points and a lot of armor, but doesn't mean anything if you have a lot of DPM swirling around you. They had a medium rush, and unfortunately for me, I was at 94.9. when that battle happened, and I only managed to get 2,000 damage out of it before I was killed. Had they pushed very slowly, I would have done a lot of damage, but unfortunately they rushed, and therefore I didn't do so well. So yeah, this is pretty much the end of this battle. It does carry on a little bit longer. I don't get this M4 whatever. I do get to kill one of the artilleries though. I managed to climb the entire slope up there, and he is hidden back behind a dune, not paying attention, and I managed to kill him. So it's not a great damage game, but it's a nice game. You know, for a mouse, it's not too bad. You know, the worst enemy of a mouse game is basically a match that ends in like 4 minutes, which I had a lot of, unfortunately. So this wasn't a bad first battle, and I'm not going to make you guys sit here and watch the whole thing, so I'll cut this and just quickly show you me killing the artillery, because that's the only other thing that happens, and then we'll move on to the next replay. So this is Linberg South, as you can see. Basically I cut the first bit of this replay out just because I was driving to location. You can see how much time was burned just getting to the flank. So the only thing you've missed is I shot an ISU. Ultimately in this replay, it's a bit frustrating for me because on Linberg you really shouldn't try and push 2 flanks. You should only try to control one of them. And on standard South, I prefer the 9-0 because you can easily win it, and also you can defend the cap from the ridgeline. So there are a number of things that make me angry in this game. One of those things that makes me angry is that the 1-2 line, we do have 2 tier 10s over there, and they don't do anything, so that's nice. So you can see the E3 trying to shoot my side there, but mouse armor too good. Basically a lot of the mouse is knowing the angles and using your angles to make people shoot things that are never going to pen. A little bit like using the IS-4 sidearm, except you don't have so much spaced armor. This E3 is desperate to do damage, but he's rushing his shots, and he's bouncing my upper plate there. So basically you can see that despite having 2 tier 10 heavies in the 1-2 line, they lost to 2 tier 10 heavies and a couple other things. We had some tier 8s there as well. They had some tier 8s. Apparently they were much better. You'll see later that their pattern is full hit points. So yeah, productive, I guess. You just see me bully this E3 like he cannot pen me. He's not aiming at my turret. I don't know why, so I'm not really being that I suppose cautious with my angling with it, but yeah, I mean it's just a free kill on an E3. I didn't take any damage, so that's wonderful. The other thing that annoyed me about this was that we had the Waffle 4 that's now up here was originally camping. Our Borsig was camping as well at the back, and now our Borsig is basically suicided or something into the water. I don't even know what he's doing. It's a very weird decision, but yeah, he just drowns himself. I don't really know why. That's fantastic. The Waffle's gun wasn't in the game, which is another problem. So ultimately, I'm just trying to do as much damage as I can. The problem with the mouse is you don't have a lot of DPM, so you're kind of slow taking things out, which is a bit of a problem. Here comes the bat already finally. I think he was trying to focus down the 1-2 lines, which is why I didn't get clicked, which is incredible. But also you have to imagine that the Batshot already probably know that he doesn't do well against the mouse. The other two 10 arties will do a lot of damage to you, but the Batshot arty, the HE is so low that it's not such a problem. So basically now I'm on my own, 5 minutes in. Not going to let this T-69 flank me. And now I have a Centurion and a Pershing to deal with. Depending on which one I shoot, it doesn't really make a difference. They're both going to be problematic, so I just decided to go for the Centurion because I'm more likely to get a second shot and kill him before, whereas the Pershing, I can shoot him once and he'll be around me before I can get the second shot. So yeah, this battle was just the demonstration of just the armor working against high pen, as well as this little bit here where basically you are just about maneuverable enough to deal with some things, although not very well. So yeah, he's gonna ram me here. I don't know, don't ask. The other thing about this battle that was interesting is the enemy team decided to cap, even though they had so many more tanks left, including a full HP Patton E5, a Batshot arty, and 4 tier 8s. But I guess Mouse too spooky. But you can see just how good the armor is against the tier 8s. People don't really appreciate how well armor can do at tier 10 when you have to focus all these tier 8s, especially when you have ones with big guns like the Borsig. So there's the full HP Patton, there's the cap. So pretty much just a straightforward farming battle at the end of the day. Okay, so for this battle you can see it's Corellia, it's assault. I'm attacking. I usually like to go south, but in a mouse and I spawned in the 3 area, there's no one turning around and going south. So I'm going north here, going to do as much damage as I can. Unfortunately, my team doesn't do very well, which is ultimately what it comes down to. We lost an IS-7 almost instantaneously in this battle, which is not great. Our another south force is going to fall. Our Batshot arty is like way committed at the south area. I don't know why. Most arties sit in the base and there's no reason to really leave the base. But he should already be seeing that that flank is dead, but he's still over there. As for myself, I'm pushing this guy because I just want to help this T10 out a little bit. I know that there's base camping stuff, so he could get shot from the base. He actually doesn't, I don't think, which is crazy. But, you know, I guess maybe they just all want to shoot me, but they don't shoot me until a certain point. It's very odd, I don't know. Maybe they were just too far into the base to shoot me, I don't really know. But anyway, make sure the T10 gets away with as much hit points as possible. This M103 is now YOLOing. This light tank, I think he's going to blow up in a second. Have to kill the light tank to make sure he doesn't kill T71. Unfortunately, our T10 did then just get shot. Probably by the 155, I think, because I get penned, yeah. So I'm the next target for that Foch. Not much I can do about that situation. I had to make sure the T71 died, because if he'd got behind the T10 there, the T10 would have been dead, and that's not fun. This 5100, I really have no idea what he thinks is going to come out of this. He just continually sits there and tries to shoot me. A very odd decision making, to be honest with you. But see, my Batshot arty is still in the south. He could have fled that area a long time ago. Don't understand. I mean, it's not hard, but whatever. So yeah, you can see basically I'm just trying to push this. I mean, ultimately my best shot here is to do as much damage to these north tanks as possible before the south flank comes back. It's not really gonna end well ultimately. I mean, I can't win basically with a mouse, as much as I would love to say I could. I just am gonna get shot from too many different flanks. I don't have enough time, as this is assault and I am on the attack. I thought about shooting this 155, but I didn't aim quick enough and he was obviously in cover, so I shot at the KV4. Luckily that went through. Nice bit of extra damage. I'm still getting shot at. That was a Batshot arty, I believe. So yeah, it's not great. The mouse at least will allow me to survive for probably longer than some tanks. Ultimately though, I kind of think, again, if I was in a faster tank, or with more DPM, I could have flexed around the map a little bit quicker, could have done a few more things. So it's a bit frustrating, you know, because if I'd have been able to go to the south, let's say in a medium, or a more versatile heavy, I could have maybe helped them win the south. And their north force was never going to push. It was a bunch of tank destroyers and other things. So get the kill on that, but I can't because I hit the rock. So I decide that I'm going to hide here, try and angle against this T30. So basically it just becomes try and survive as long as possible. So you can see I'm doing a bit of angling here. The T30 decides that he can't pen me, so decides to back up, and I'm able to turn quite quickly. You know, I don't even have a vertical stabilizer. Again, there's a nice no damage. I don't have a vertical stabilizer because the mouse turret turns so slowly anyway. It's not as useful as it might be on most tanks. So instead I have the super heavy plus fence. Here I get a second chance at the kill. There it is. That's a big gun out of the game at least. T30 is coming here for the flankerinos. So yeah, we'll just not allow that. He thinks that he can get around me, but I'm going to ram him, and usually when you do that to people, you can usually get out their tracks. Just trying to angle my turret a little bit away. So yeah, it's a nice bounce. If they don't aim quickly before you can angle, you can often get away with things like that. I'm just gonna back up here, make sure this Mutz doesn't flank me. But ultimately, as you can see, you know, I just got shot by a KV there. There's no way. I would love to have a romantic view where I can carry this game, but ultimately I need to be in a position where they can only attack me from one direction in the front. But as it is, that is not the case. That was a really nice shot. I'm trying to angle as much as I can against as many people as I can. Even if I don't bounce them, the idea is to make them take longer to aim while I'm reloading. But there you go, a sad end there. So this next replay is on Malinovka. This is replay actually the battle where I 3-marked the mouse. I did 9,000 damage in this replay, so it's pretty cool. Our T32 there is telling me to carry because our platoon 1 is pretty useless according to him. I guess that's XVM, I don't know. Interestingly, you can see the double chat bug, and that's because I actually have chat turned on for this. I have had chat turned off for quite a while now in my battles, so by the way, if you do see me in battle and I don't reply to you, if you say hi to me, it's because I have chat turned off. So I'm not ignoring you, I just have the chat turned off. This battle in particular, for some reason I just didn't have it off, I can't remember why. Anyway, so it's Malinovka, which is an open map. There's one artillery, which is of course an M53-55, because what other tier 9 artillery is worth your time? So it's a bit of a worry. I'm going to push this flank anyway though, because I feel like I need to help them win this flank. It's very important that we have control of this area. Fortunately, in counter and assault, the caps are much slower, so it's much more mouse friendly. For the capping, you don't have to worry about it too much, which is why I don't mind having them on too much, even if maybe it's not so wise, for the mouse at least. So anyway, I'm going to push this flank, just trying to win it. We have enough on the 1-2 area to make sure that they don't cap, and then we can secure this flank. The forest is pretty strategically important. It's, you know, once you win the forest, it's quite easy to move up and basically have map control. So you kind of want to control the forest because it's not so easy to push the 1-2 line if there's any kind of tank force there. It's much slower and drawn out. So this is kind of selfless, I guess to say, to put my mouse in this situation. I can kind of draw fire from the opponents. We'll see where they are when they try to shoot me from long distances. I shouldn't get penned. Artillery obviously is a big threat, but they don't have huge tank destroyers, so I'm like, okay, I can push this and they shouldn't see anything. But ultimately, we are starting to we push this flank and we haven't seen anything, which indicates immediately to me that there is nothing over here. There was things over here, but they've obviously run away. So I immediately turn and start going over towards the cap. Not particularly because the cap is under that great danger right now, but by the time I get there, it could be. And here's a couple, you know, spots up, which is useful. So a little bit of damage there going across as I continue to roll. Basically with the mouse you can roll and then stop a little bit before you're reloaded, get the shot off and continue. You don't really lose much. So yeah, I'm going to continue rolling across here. Basically I'm going to cut them off. My team can continue pushing south while I continue to go towards the middle here. My goal is to just get stuck right into it. I have enough tanks around me that I'm not too worried about being flanked. This shouldn't be that, well, it shouldn't be that easy for them to flank me, so I'm not too concerned about it at this point, but I do need to get my armor in the game, I need to get my gun in the game, so this is why I'm cutting across, but I am taking it a little bit cautiously, because most of their team is obviously over on this flank, and the last thing I want is to get flanked by a ton of things. Even though they'll probably take a lot of damage for it, I may die, and that's not really what I want when I'm trying to mark the tank. So I'm just going in, but I'm, you know, checking, making sure I'm not gonna get insta-wrecked. I think this is a blind shot. I can't remember if he like disappears right as I fire. Oh no, I bounced it because T54 sides or whatever. So here I have a nice roll right through to the center area. I can start to prepare to put pressure onto the guys capping. Aiming for this T22 here, but unfortunately he's going to swerve off. Perhaps I should have snapshotted that. I actually thought I had a bit more time than I actually did. But I'm getting pretty close here, so the little gap that is where the cap is, I'm the kind of crossroads. I'm going to be coming right up to that in a second here. And basically I'm just going to try and duel with these guys on the cap. It's basically just a Type 4 and an STI, or an ST1, sorry, whatever you want to say. Yeah, so I basically just want to do some damage to these guys. Now that I've shot these, you know, they know I'm here. So just going to get off to this building here, trying to use it as a shield. And this way I can limit only one of the tanks to be able to shoot me at any one time. So pretty advantageous in that regard. I mean, there's no reason to sit out in the open for me. Just keeping an eye on this T22 though, because he might get baited to come YOLO me. So I am watching him, but he seems interested in sniping, so I'm going to take a nice shot. Got his road wheel there, which is cool, so that keeps him up there for a little while. He takes some damage, so that's some nice track assisted damage that I'll get from that shot. We've got general map control now, so we're probably pretty comfortable. I'm now going to move in on this Type 5. Trying to side scrape is going to be wasting my time with this guy backing up. Basically, I might get one shot if I'm lucky. Now he knows I'm here. He's going to turn and look at me, but I should be fine. I just continue to walk in this direction, which creates an angle that he can't pen with that Type 4 very easily. So just a nice drive-by there, get wrecked, flanked by a mouse. Not really. This game is interesting. I only put it in here mostly because it's high damage. I mean, it's like a 9k damage game. How can you not put a 9k damage game in this? But anyways, yeah, it's mostly a little bit of farm. But you can see just how well I can just sort of stay on the front lines and not really need to even concern myself with the tanks on the enemy team. Like other tanks, I'll be like a little bit concerned about the amount of damage I'm going to take being up here. But I'm a mouse, so it has its perks every now and then. I don't have great DPM, which is obviously the only downfall in this situation. But no one really wants to shoot me, and when they do, it's like, oh, I don't really want to shoot that mouse, but I guess I have to. So it's nice, you know, you can basically do a lot of damage, and you have the hit points and the armor to spare. So it's really nice having this amount of hit points. Now you can see that I've done quite a lot of damage so far. But you look at the enemy team and you think, how on earth do I get the rest of the 9,000 damage out of this game? And I still don't really know. I guess I just kind of like keep shooting things and like they have enough hit points, which is like the dream for the mouse. To have things that, you know, have enough hit points that you can sort of farm. So in this particular case, I'm going to shoot this FV because he's more of a threat than the T10 to me. Better DPM, better gun, you know, more likely to do more damage to me. So I'll kill the FV and get him out of the way so I don't have to worry about his gun. I was particularly worried about this T49 initially, but then I was like, I'm a mouse, so I don't actually care. It's about time this Ferdinand was punished for continually pecking at me though, so put a shot into him. I think this triggers him to get behind a building, I think. If I remember correctly. Yeah, there he goes. So yeah, here comes this T10, which is, you know, more hit points for me to farm. Shot his road wheel. Unfortunately, he has his repair kit still, so he's not going to let me just ram him, which would have been glorious. Although saying that, I haven't really gotten any great rams with the mouse. It's not a ramming tank because you never get the speed. You can do like decent damage, but you never really have enough speed like an E50M or a 50B to get really glorious rams. But he's like, I'm gonna juke you, and I'm not really that interested, to be honest with you. So yeah, I mean, I've 7,000 something now. So basically, it just ended up being a great farm game. I got quite a lot of track assisted damage. I'm ignoring this T10 now to try and get damage on the Ferdinand because you have more hit points. I mean, at this stage of the game, we've won so easily that I can just try and get the damage out on the tanks I want. So yeah, that's why I went for the Ferdinand and ignored the T10 there. But now obviously I can come kill the T10. But unfortunately he does get shot, but definitely was worth the shoot the Ferdinand over him. So now this T-54 lightweight here is going to swing by, and I'm basically going to have one more shot on this guy. So a nice real end to this battle. It was just a ton of damage, and I actually didn't expect to mark it because the battles before this ended so fast. I lost quite a amount of mark percent because I was doing 2,000 damage. But this one like raised it so much that it went 93 point something to 95. So that wraps up my mouse third mark session video, guys. It was a crazy experience, and I know this video is a lot shorter than the other videos, and that's not because I particularly thought it was going to be shorter or anything like that, or I planned it to be short. It just like, I thought about battles like, oh, I'll throw this in. I was like, well, that's a lot of rolling around. I mean, even some of these I had to cut down. It's very difficult to make things interesting in the mouse and to find things to talk about when it's such a slow-paced tank. I mean, the E100 is one thing, but that tank's pretty quick, but the mouse is so slow. I never thought I would 3-mark this tank, to be quite honest with you guys. It was an experience, to say the least, to 3-mark the mouse. I'm glad I did it to say I've done it, I guess, more than anything else. It's not something I want to ever do again, I think. And the mouse isn't as bad as I think some people make out in a lot of ways, but like it isn't great. It suffers so much from some things, and the gun is just so poor. I mean, there's no reason, just like the E100, to have the pen as low as it is. I mean, I feel, you know, I guess justified in a lot of ways, or vindicated to fire a lot of APCR out of this tank because everyone's shooting that back at me anyway. And there's a lot of concepts where people say, well, gold noobs, lol. Gold makes armor useless, and that's really simply not true. Armor is not useless. I bounced so much. I had so many 6k damage games where, you know, I could hold the corner and just do it. That's what the mouse is great at, and it's still great at it regardless of gold rounds. They don't auto pen the mouse, and if you angle correctly, this tank will pen or bounce so much stuff. Obviously, the only problem is when people get around you. So you have to have people around you. You have to pick your flanks so carefully in the mouse because you cannot retreat. I mean, even the E100 is quick enough to back away a lot of the time, but the mouse is just so slow. But ultimately, it's really good at bouncing, regardless of who's firing at you and what they're firing at you with. It's still really good at bouncing if it's angled correctly. And a lot of things that people don't get about gold rounds is that it's not, you know, against armor and things like that, is maybe they will pen you eventually if they aim carefully enough, but it's making those people aim so carefully and they take more time to aim at you that they lose their DPM. And that's what's key for the mouse, is that it slows down enemy DPM, because they may have, I don't know, a 6-second reload, but if they have to take a couple extra seconds to hit you, they have a much slower reload, which is what you'd want to get out of the mouse and things like that. But I'm sorry for the shortness of this video. Ultimately, I just found it really hard to talk and make it interesting about this tank. It's not a tank I would recommend making your main pub tank, or to quickly go grind this tank just because I 3-marked it. It's really not that great, but if you already have it and maybe you're going up that line anyway and you want to, maybe, I don't know, maybe you'll get something out of this. I really don't know. But I am going to make the 3rd mark session guide video, which is paired with these types of videos, so you guys can see how to angle the tank, so it's not just like these battles here, which I think will be more useful than this, to be perfectly honest. But anyway, I've rambled on for long enough about the mouse. It's an interesting tank, and if I were to change it, I would definitely buff the reload, get it more DPM, give it a bit more pen, and I think that would really make the tank a little bit more competitive. You can't do much with the speed because that would be so unrealistic to see this thing zipping around the map. You can't really make it as quick as the E100 because that would be broken. So I think DPM is where you have to go with buffing this thing. Anyway, guys, as always, thanks so much for watching. Let me know in the comments what you think about the mouse. What would you change on the mouse to sort of improve the tank and make it a bit more competitive in the meta? And yeah, I'll see you next time.